Hey, you're there. If you like the content I bring, your help is essential. For the channel to remain active and grow more and more, I need your support. Each new follower is a huge incentive to continue creating exciting stories and videos full of fun and adventures. Also, by subscribing, you help me convert this passion into sustainable work, which allows me to offer you even more surprising content. As soon as you don't forget to subscribe, please like and share. Your participation makes all the difference. Helena had always been the kind of woman who embraced the world with both arms, strong, smiling, the kind of presence that lit up any room. But what life had in store for her, she never imagined. The diagnosis came as a sentence, a rare, degenerative, slow disease. The treatment was uncertain, time was an enemy. The days were filled with exams, pain, and hopes that slipped through her fingers like sand. In the hospital, lying in a bed that wasn't hers, Helena struggled silently, but the real shock didn't come from the symptoms, but from the empty gaze of Lucas, her husband, who no longer knew how to pretend. He no longer held her hand. He no longer kissed her on the forehead. The distance grew like a wall of ice between them, until the day he simply let her go. Helena was still awake when he left. She didn't look back. She didn't say goodbye. She just left, with another woman. Lucas didn't just leave her. He left his responsibility, his fatherhood, his commitment. He left his daughter Isabella, 8 years old, at Helena's parents' house, as if she were an inconvenient package. He said he needed some time for himself, as if his escape were an act of courage. His lover, young and vibrant, now occupied the space that Helena had left. Helena, on the other hand, remained there among machines, nurses, and emptiness. The days dragged on, and no one mentioned Lucas. The parents tried to protect Isabella from the pain. But how could they hide the absence of a father? How could they pretend that nothing had changed? Helena wanted to scream. She wanted to beg him to come back, not for her, but for her daughter. But it was too late. Lucas's eyes no longer shone for that family. His heart had already changed direction. Helena spent weeks in the hospital, the doctors wavering between hope and uncertain diagnoses. Every morning was a battle against her own body and against her memories. But it was one silent dawn that everything changed. A nurse entered the room with an envelope in her hands. It was the divorce papers. Lucas had not only left her, now he wanted to erase her existence for good. Helena held the papers with trembling hands. Why couldn't he wait? Why had the love she swore at the altar crumbled in the first storm? She signed, not out of acceptance but out of exhaustion. He was already gone. Holding him back with a piece of paper would be useless. And in that moment, between tears and physical pain, Helena made a silent promise. She would not be remembered as a weak woman. Time passed, and with it came small victories. A little more movement in her leg, a less aggressive test result. Her body showed signs that it didn't want to give up. But her heart, that took longer. Isabella's absence weighed heavily. Missing her daughter was a hole growing in her chest. Her parents took her to visit her when possible, but school, schedules, and routine limited their time together. Isabella cried every time she saw her mother lying down. "When is Mommy coming home?" she asked with hopeful eyes. Helena smiled, lying out of love. "Soon, my love." But inside, she doubted herself. With each visit, she felt her daughter growing far away, carrying pain that no one at that age should know. She was missing out on special moments, special days, and all because of an illness she didn't choose. While Helena was waging war against her own body, Lucas lived as if nothing had happened. In another state, with another woman, and a new life on social media. Trips, dinners, smiles. The man who said he couldn't stand hospitals anymore was now posing next to another woman as if he had never sworn eternal love. But fate is patient, and the truth always finds a way to return. Lucas's new partner discovered, little by little, who he really was. Lies about the past, about the daughter he rarely mentioned, about a woman who, according to him, had given up on life. When his lover saw Isabella's photo forgotten in an old drawer, something in her broke. There was a child in that story, a life left behind. Lucas, with his false charm, tried to keep up appearances, but the truth began to bleed through the cracks. Helena was discharged, weak, thin, but standing. She was welcomed with tears by her parents and with the tightest hug from Isabella. Feeling her daughter in her arms again was like breathing for the first time. She cried, and Isabella cried with her. Her parents' house was now her new home, a makeshift room, medicine on the table, constant physical therapy. But there was love there. Over time, Helena began to walk again, slowly, with short steps, but each one was a cry of resistance. She looked in the mirror and saw someone different, stronger, more alive. Lucas was no longer a ghost that haunted her. He was just a chapter, a name. And in that scenario of starting over, Helena decided something. She would rebuild everything from scratch, for herself, for Isabella, and for everything that had been taken from her. The months that followed were tough. Helena still had pain in her body, but she learned to live with it. She took online courses, studied, and rekindled old passions. Photography, which had always been a distant hobby, became her profession. She set up a small makeshift studio in her parents' backyard and began working, taking photos of families, babies, and weddings. It was ironic how she was now immortalizing moments she never had. But it was therapeutic. Isabella was her biggest fan, helping with the lights, running the cables, and being her ray of sunshine. Little by little, her clientele grew, and with it, her confidence. Helena was smiling again without guilt. She was living again, and even with the scar of abandonment, she no longer allowed herself to be defined by it. One afternoon, when Helena opened her email inbox, she received an unexpected message. The sender, Lucas. The subject line, "We need to talk." Her heart raced out of reflex, but not out of longing. It was pent-up anger mixed with contempt. She clicked. The words were empty, as always. He said he was sorry, that life with his lover was not what he had expected, that he missed his daughter. Helena took a deep breath. She did not respond. Her silence would have been more deafening than any answer, but fate did not wait for decisions. The next day, Lucas appeared at the gate of her parents' house, thin, haggard, almost unrecognizable. Helena saw him from the window, and for a second, she felt nothing. He no longer had any power over her. Isabella ran to her mother, confused. "Mommy, is it Daddy?" Helena nodded with a firm smile. "Yes, my love, but he's no longer part of our lives." The confrontation was silent. Lucas asked to talk. He said he wanted to see Isabella, that he was willing to change. Helena looked him in the eyes and saw exactly the same man who had left her in that bed. Regretful? Maybe, but only because his life with his lover fell apart, not for her, not for the love of her daughter. She listened to everything in silence, without a tear. In the end, she said, "You didn't lose me, Lucas. You lost the chance to be remembered with dignity, and not even time can heal that." He left without answering. And in that moment, Helena was certain. The woman he had abandoned had died, and the one who had been reborn would never accept crumbs. Helena's story began to inspire other women. She wrote about her experience, was invited to give lectures and interviews. Her story went viral on social media. The woman who had been abandoned while sick was now a symbol of strength. But none of this went to her head. For Helena, the greatest reward was waking up and seeing Isabella smiling, being able to work with what she loved, and living in peace. She no longer sought love, forgiveness, or revenge. She just wanted to live truthfully. One day, Isabella asked if her father would come back. Helena hugged her and replied, he had a choice, and he chose to leave. Her daughter understood, because sometimes growing up also means accepting absences. Lucas tried again. He sent gifts and letters and tried to win his daughter back with promises. But Isabella was already smart. She knew who truly loved her, and she knew that love cannot be proven with dolls or chocolates. It is proven with presence, with hugs when someone is sick, with stories told before bed. Helena did not stop her daughter from talking back to her father, but she herself never allowed him to come back into the house. She learned the difference between forgiveness and coexistence, between accepting the past and reliving it. And with that, her life finally found balance. One day, Helena looked back and realized how far she had come. From a hospital bed to a woman who supported her own home, her daughter, her soul. The scars were there, visible, but now they were part of her armor. She learned to live with them. She learned to use them as a reminder of what she had overcome. And at the end of each day, when she closed her eyes, she knew she had overcome. Not the disease, not the abandonment, but herself. Helena was no longer a victim. She was a survivor, and nothing and no one could take that away from her. One day, Helena looked back and realized how far she had come. From a hospital bed to a woman who supported her own home, her daughter, her soul. The scars were there, visible, but now they were part of her armor. She learned to live with them. She learned to use them as a reminder of what she had overcome. And at the end of each day, when she closed her eyes, she knew she had overcome, not the disease, not the abandonment, but herself. Helena was no longer a victim. She was a survivor. And nothing and no one could take that away from her. One morning, Helena was walking with Isabella through the square when a woman approached her. "You're Helena, aren't you? The one from the story? About the hospital, about the abandonment?" She nodded, surprised. The woman smiled, moved. "Your story saved me. I thought I was the only one." Helena hugged her, moved. At that moment, she understood that her pain was not in vain, that even the darkest moments can turn into light. And for the first time, Helena didn't cry out of pain. She cried out of gratitude for having survived, for being there. Helena became what she never imagined, a beacon, a guide, an inspiration. Not because she wanted to, but because life pushed her into the darkness and she learned to shine anyway. In the end, what Lucas took was insignificant compared to what life gave back. Her daughter's love, her freedom, her strength. She was now the master of her own destiny. And as the sun set on that last chapter, Helena smiled, her soul light. She was no longer the abandoned woman. She was the woman who was reborn. And that ending was just the beginning.